My name's Gerald Herbert. I'm a resident of Harahan. I moved back home. I grew up in Harahan and River Ridge. I moved back home in September of last year. And it was 3 days after we bought our home, our family home, that we started getting hammered with this horrible smell. What I'm trying to do today is to explain to you all how it's impacted the community. I know you've heard a lot of technical talk today, but I'd like to talk about the community and what it's done to us. This started in September when I moved here. I think it actually started about a month earlier. By February, let me describe the smell. I hate calling it a smell like it's a nuisance. It's like a thick, invisible fog that hits you in the face, that chases you inside. You can't stay outside. It comes into your home while you're sleeping. It will wake you up at night in your own bedroom. Our community is full of reports of people who describe the same thing that I've experienced. I live a few blocks from the river, but this impacts all over Harahan, River Ridge, parts of Kenner, parts of Metairie, and clearly Wagaman, who gets the brunt of it. By February, I kept calling the LDEQ, and finally I spoke with someone and I said, what is the source of this? And he said, we think it's coming from across the river. Like, we think it's a landfill. I said, well, you think it is? How far along are you on this investigation? And the response was, we pretty much rely on these people to self-report. That didn't sit well with me, and it doesn't sit well with anyone in the community, that the LDEQ can take a passive role and rely on companies to self-report. So I had enough, and I wound up trying to do my own investigations. I looked into trying to get air monitoring equipment for ourselves. We actually have some on loan from Dr. Ed Overton at LSU. He's an environmental scientist. And then I started a Facebook page called Harahan River Ridge Air Quality. We now have 2,500 members on that page. We have been collecting smell reports daily and putting them in spreadsheet form, sharing them with the parish. There's some binders back there, these white binders where we printed out, and I'd like you to take a look over them. I don't expect you to read all of them because there's 3,300 smell reports in there. Just since April, when we found it, when I started this webpage. You can take a gander through that binder and look at the comments and just kind of take a look at them. It's even good bed reading material. And you can see the testimony of all the people and their comments and what they're going through. This group is comprised 70% women, and they are mothers who don't want their children breathing this. We don't know what's in the air. They are putting duct tape over their windows and the door cracks to keep the smell from coming in. There have been, I can't address the physical reports, maybe other people can, but they keep talking about recurring symptoms that they're experiencing, that they are tying it to the smell. And I don't know if there's a medical basis for that. But even if they are complaining about physical ailments, tying it to this stressful episode of horrible smell that's invading their homes, the fact that they're even going through that psychologically is not fair. This is not a small matter. This is a community, when you put them all together, of 50,000 people. Is it? No, 30,000. 30 or 50?
Where?
Harahan, River Ridge, Wagaman. 30,000 people. So for every person on this group, and that's 2,500 people we have, that's one person, maybe two per household, and that's just the people who are on Facebook. It's clearly impacting people in ways that is stressing them out, and they just can't take it anymore. And they keep hearing things like, it'll be 6 months. And that's exasperating to hear 6 months, but we were hearing that 6 months number 3 months ago. I know the parish is doing their very best. I believe they are. I've met with Keith Conley, the COO, and I take his word for it that they're trying to fix this. But this, in fact, has become, it's like a ship going down the river with no one at the helm. And the river bends, and that ship has slammed into our community, and it's spilling on our shores. That's what it's like. The parish is looking into fixing their problems, and the parish is investigating the parish. But we are appealing to you all on the state level to investigate this, to get to the bottom of all the things that you all were talking about going back to 2012, 2013, and find out who the responsible parties are. There are so many contractors involved. We had a person today who went over to Waggaman, and she reported the smell to the Jefferson Parish hotline. They sent someone out right away. That person, according to their Facebook page profile, actually works for Waste Management, which is the contractor that manages the landfill. So you can see the conflict of interest there, that people who are complaining about the smell are reacting to, or getting responses by some of the companies that very well may be part of the problem. There was reference to the midstream loading operation, and there's a lot of talk about other potential sources of smell. And that gentleman, Kelly Knowles, who lives on Rex Drive, who has been documenting all the airborne particulate matter that we are confident is coming from that operation, and possibly smells are coming from there as well. On two separate instances, when he talked to an LDEQ person, they declined to take air samples. They did not want to take air samples. And the problem with that is we don't know what's in the air. And it's the LDEQ's job to take those samples and go enforce that and get it on record what's in the air. I just had my pool water tested at the pool, the pool supply company, and I had them test for nitrates. This particulate matter has been landing in my pool, and I could see it in the morning laying on top before the pump kicks on. And they tested for phosphates, phosphates, and they found it over 1,000 parts per million, which they said is off the charts. It should be like 0 to 100 at worst. And this was over 1,000 parts per million in my pool. That's an indication that there's stuff in the air. It could be anything from grain dust to fertilizer. That operation has in 1 month alone handled 4,000 vessels. There's so much going on there. And a lot of people in the community feel that the LDEQ is at worst being passive about it and slow to respond, or at best. Or they feel that they are almost running interference against the community to give the heavy industries the space to continue doing what they're doing. That's the perception. I don't know that that's the reality, but that's the perception within the community. So we're asking you all to take a good hard look at everything in this process and how it's impacted this community, and to really get to the bottom of it and let it be a teaching lesson for us in the future, that anytime permits are granted to industry, that the public be involved in that process, so that they are written in a way that they are not entitled to big loopholes to do things that impact us negatively. They can coexist, industry coexist with our communities if it's handled properly with clear oversight from the beginning. And that's what we ask of you all.